Nicholas and Toby had been driving for 30 minutes when they approached the rendezvous point with the anarchists. When Toby arrived, he was surprised to see a crowd of anarchists. Around 100 people were at the meet, in 20 cars. Not only that, but they were armed with assault rifles and even a couple of machine gun turrets attached to the top of the cars. The anarchists were armed and dangerous, and Toby didn't want to work with them. "Ah, nice to see you too. Now, I do not know who you are, young man," one of the anarchists said, pointing at Toby. "I'm Toby," he said quickly. Toby then proceeded to whisper to Nicholas, "I don't want to work with these guys. They tried to kill me. And what can they possibly do to stop them?" Nicholas looked at Toby and spoke to the entire crowd. "Toby here says that you tried to kill him, yet that was clearly the Lamont Street Liberators responsible. And he also doubts our capabilities in stopping them. But today, everything will change. Today, we will destroy the Novus Ordo Seclorum and free Benko Falls." The anarchists cheered for Nicholas and then another figure spoke. "Alrighty. Let's go kill them all," he screamed. The anarchists then rushed to the cars. Toby and Nicholas got onto the back of a pickup truck with 6 other anarchists. As they approached the headquarters, they saw 10 guards at the entrance. The guards were alerted by the 4 trucks of anarchists outside the entrance. One of the anarchists got off of the truck and approached the guards with a gun in hand. "What do you want?" the guard asked. The anarchist didn't answer, and instead shot one of the guards. The other guards were instantly alerted and riddled the anarchist with bullets. He died instantly. At that moment, all of the anarchists got off of the truck and began shooting at the guards. The guards, afraid of getting shot and killed, ran away into the vast complex of the Novus Ordo Seclorum. "Go! Breach it!" one of the anarchists exclaimed. At that point, they drove the car into the facility through a much larger tunnel than the one prior. It looked like a tunnel to a mineshaft that was abandoned 100 years ago. It was just large enough to fit the trucks and the men. The tunnel was extremely long, and they felt the car going downhill. Nicholas had a walkie-talkie on hand. "Covert team, do you copy?" Nicholas asked. "Roger. We're here. Are you guys in the first tunnel we talked about?" Nicholas asked the receiver. "Yeah. It's really small. Wait. We see a doggy door." "Good. Set the explosives then blow it up," Nicholas replied. "Roger that. Hold up. We hear something. Oh dear God. Fall back to the entrance. Run," the receiver exclaimed. "What the hell is going on?" Toby asked the receiver. Toby heard gunshots through the walkie-talkie. "They know we're here," the receiver replied to Toby. Then there was a boom, and the receiver screamed. Then, silence. At that moment, the truck stopped at a storage room. In the storage room were weapons and 30 soldiers working for the Novus Ordo Seclorum. The soldiers began to open fire. The anarchists got out of the truck and some were immediately killed as soon as they got out. They had to take cover. "Jesus Christ, this is a bloodbath. AHH, an anarchist said before getting blown up by a grenade, ending the man's life. The storage space had turned into a pure war zone and the anarchists had only moved 10 meters forward out of the cars. Casualties were very high. At that point, 60 of the anarchists had been killed. That wasn't counting for the covert team, which had been out of contact. That was until one of them was heard on the walkie-talkie. "Hello. Anybody, do you copy? This is Covert 6. Bloodshot heard the voice, however the radio was in the middle of the war zone. Bloodshot dived into the radio and responded. I'm here. This is Bloodshot. Tell me, what happened to the rest of Covert team? They were all killed by a cave-in. I was the only one that made it out of the tunnel before the cave-in. I found another entrance point. I found blueprints for the place. An entire layout of the facility. We're going to need it if we want to win. Bloodshot was surprised, but also pleased. Roger that. I'm on my way. Bloodshot replied. Toby, get in the truck. We've got a map of this place. And what about everybody else? Toby asked. They were willing to die for this mission. I'll tell them to retreat, but they would rather die than lose, Bloodshot replied. Everybody, the mission is a failure. Retreat now. Toby screamed at the anarchists. But the anarchists did nothing. Bloodshot was right. Now Toby, do you want to join him or leave with your life? Bloodshot asked. Toby made a clear choice. He had a life ahead of him. Why should he die for nothing? Toby got on the back of the truck as soon as it started to drive away. You made a good choice, Toby. Trust me. We will kill them all next time. And plus, we still have Harry and Alia held captive by us. You did get somebody to keep an eye on him, right? Yeah, of course I did. Who do you think I am? An idiot? Toby asked. No, of course not. I told him to meet us at the entrance. You know, the one that we breached into, Bloodshot replied. Toby and Bloodshot proceeded in the truck to the entrance. There, they noticed no tunnel and a blown-up door. They also took note of 3 dead bodies near the entrance. They each had a mask with the anarchist A. Toby and Bloodshot then saw a man sprinting towards them with a rolled-up piece of paper. The blueprints are right here, the man said. The anarchist unrolled the sheet to display a massive facility underground. One that was much larger than they initially thought. It contained everything, including the entrances and exits. It was both fascinating and terrifying at the same time. The Novus Ordo Seclorum was somehow even more of a threat. Holy shit! Toby exclaimed. Great job. This defeat wasn't terrible because of your actions. You're good at this, Bloodshot said to the anarchist. Thank why? The anarchist replied until a bullet went into his head. The bullet killed the man instantly. The anarchist dropped to the ground, without shit, Toby exclaimed. Sniper. At that moment, 3 guards appeared in their sight from the top of a nearby hill. Bloodshot responded by shooting back, but they were too far away. The shots missed. Get to the truck, now, Bloodshot shouted at Toby. Toby got into the truck and started it up. He put the blueprints of the facility on his lap. Bloodshot sprinted to the truck. Toby proceeded to speed away. The drive was mostly normal for Toby and Bloodshot. What was not normal, however, was the fact that when they arrived at the home of Nicholas Fisher, they saw a fire engulf the entire building. Things had been going pretty well for Harry Roots. He was now being taught how to lead in the vast world of business. Mr. Dominus seemed to be a very trustworthy individual, and it seemed like everything was going his way. Along with that, Harry was able to get an incredibly skilled shooter, a man named Darren Fisher, on his side. It was Friday, November 12, 2004, and Harry was driving a brand new car to an abandoned building. There, he saw Mr. Dominus. Harry. Right on time. You are truly exceptional at convincing people to do what you want. I wanted to give You a little something. Mr. Dominus handed Harry a duffel bag full of cash. $100,000. A whole lot of dough. Now what I want you to do with it is to start a simple business. I can help out with some of the schematics, like the fact that you are 16 years old. Unfortunately, you cannot own property for another 2 years. So in these earlier years, you are going to use other people to work for you. This money is a way to convince them. We have weapon smuggling, but there are other illicit things to invest in. I have faith in you, Mr. Dominus said. What should I learn about economics? Harry asked. Well, I've been studying this for years, and what I have learned from experience is that in order to win, you have to beat others, no matter the cost. You have to do what it takes in order to make it. I also started a stock account for you. You could potentially make money that way. The point is that I want you to have enough money to buy a business in any field by the time you are 18. And that 100 grand. You will have to pay that back. Consider it a loan. But you should be just fine, Mr. Dominus replied, patting Harry on the shoulder. Harry walked out of the building and into his car. His first order of business was to find some companies to invest in. Something that was on the rise. However, something came up. During the car ride, Harry got a phone call from Thomas Clark. Harry, you have to listen to me. I want you to meet with Darren. We're gonna give him a little mission to do. I think that you are the only one that would actually be able to convince him to do it. Okay, what the fuck is the mission? We want him to kill somebody. Who do you want to kill? Harry asked. This criminal who has been involved with the Lemon Street Liberators. His name is Farley Ponkers. What? Those anarchist guys that burned down a city block. Is he going to assassinate you or something? Harry asked. That is exactly what they are going to do. We need his help to take down. So tell him. By the way, Walter is going to help out, Thomas Clark said, panicked. He then proceeded to hang up the phone. Harry had encountered a detour. And now, instead of investing in the market, Harry now had to get involved in the mayor's dirty work. He was annoyed. He felt like he was contributing the most out of them all. And what was he getting out of it? After an hour of driving, Harry arrived at the cabin that Darren lived in. It was a very rustic home with fading paint and some damaged fixtures. Outside the home was a storage shed and 3 empty barrels. Harry approached the home and saw Darren outside, shooting his gun at the barrels. Harry also noticed a black Cadillac pull up. The Cadillac stopped, and Otto Walter walked out of the car. He was wearing a trench coat. Mr. Darren, it is really great to see you in person, said Otto Walter with open arms. Darren didn't know who this man was. After all, only Thomas Clark stepped out of the car. He pointed the gun at Walter. Who are you? Darren asked, turning the safety off. I am a good friend, Mr. Darren. We just want you to do a little job for us. We will pay you extremely well if you complete the job. Oh yeah, just what kind of job do you have in mind? Walter paused, then he spoke, but Harry interrupted him. We want you to kill a criminal. He's got ties with the Lemon Street Liberators. The man. Farley Ponkers. Darren shook his head. No. I refuse to kill him. He's a good friend of mine. And plus, what are you going to do? Kill me? Darren. If you do not do this, you will never get what you truly desire. You will never be free for the rest of your miserable life. Your family will have to struggle. Your poor little son will never get to experience a true childhood like me and Walter. Instead, he is destined to live the life of a broke man baby with daddy issues. He will live on the streets, I can promise you that," Harry exclaimed. It felt good for Harry. Still, no, I would rather die than kill him. Well, you see, Mr. Darren, if you do not do this, we will not kill you, but there will be consequences. Do you want innocent people to be killed because of your actions? Productive white-collar workers who contribute to our ever-growing world. And you would choose to kill them? Darren thought for a second. Fine. I'll kill him. You can trust me on that. Darren lead. Good, said Walter, leaving the scene. Harry followed suit. Darren had a plan that would secure his freedom. He would lie about it all, claiming that he would be dead. However, Farley would still be alive and well. Darren got into his car and drove to Lemon Street. There, he approached a giant apartment building. He knocked on the door. A pair of eyeballs looked down to see Darren, and the door opened. "Darren, how are you doing?" the man asked. "Hey, I've been better. I need to see Farley." The man looked around. "Farley just left for something. What do you want to tell him?" "I was supposed to kill him, but I chose to spare his life. He needs to lay low for a while." "Actually, you should all lay low." The anarchist laughed. "You are a damn good comedian, Darren. It's not a joke. You guys have to call the assassination off. Just tell him to lay low, or we all get busted." "Jesus, man, what got into you? You shouldn't be worried about this." Darren sighed. "Look, I was threatened by these two guys. The names are Harry and Walter. Okay, we'll kill them both. But after the assassination, listen to me. Call it off." Darren shouted at the anarchist. "No can do. Next Saturday, the tyrant with the name of Thomas Clark will be 6 feet under. Try to stop it. I dare you. Goddamn!" Darren yelled at the top of his lungs. Enraged, Darren left the building. He had a complicated choice to make. Either he would trust that Farley would not partake in it, or he would have to intervene. But then Darren thought about who he was working for. Were they really that threatening? After all, what would they do to him? The week had come and gone. And now it was Saturday. For Harry, life had been more of the same, with the exception of the fact that he had done some heavy research on stocks. He was planning on investing 25% of the cash that he got. Mr. Dominus was also teaching him the principles of business at the same time. But what Harry didn't know was that Darren was unable to kill Farley Ponkers. That was until Saturday. He had driven downtown, where he encountered Mr. Dominus and Otto Walter at the abandoned warehouse. "Harry, take a seat," said Mr. Dominus. He saw a circular table with multiple chairs. He sat in one of the chairs. "Okay, so what on earth is going on?" "We're going to have a meeting with a couple of others. Some people that you are going to need to meet." At that moment, a loud gunshot was heard. "What was that?" Walter asked. "I don't know. I'm gonna check so that you two dumbasses don't have to worry about it," Harry replied. Harry walked outside to see 3 police cars and an arrested fugitive. At the scene, Mayor Thomas Clark was there. "What happened here?" Harry asked. "This guy tried to kill me," said Thomas Clark. "He pulled out a Glock and tried to shoot at me. However, my bodyguard here took the shot." "What is your name? Who do you work for?" one of the officers asked. "It doesn't matter who I work for. Because we will destroy you. It doesn't matter how long it takes, you will be 6 feet under. Just you watch. I know who you are, Farley. You thought that you were so clever. The man stood still, shocked. How do you know my name? It doesn't matter. Because you are going to be locked behind bars for the rest of your miserable life. Thomas Clark replied to the man. Harry recognized that name. It was the same man that Darren was supposed to kill. Darren lied to them, and Thomas Clark was nearly assassinated as a result. He had to do something about Darren. Harry sprinted back to the abandoned building. Harry, good to see you again. Why are you here on such short notice? Mr. Dominus asked. It's about Darren, Walter. Come with me. We need to deal with that fucking asshole who thought that he could beat us. Otto. Walter got out of the seat and walked towards Harry's car. The drive there was more of the same. With the exception of the fact that Harry was speeding down the long road. Finally, they approached the home. There, Darren stood outside of the house. Mr. Darren, how are you doing? Darren stood still. Walter gave Harry a gun and he proceeded to point it at him. You know that I know what this is about. And yet you stand with no firearm, Walter replied. Yeah, because you guys don't want to kill me, said Darren. Yes, we do not want you dead. You are still of use to us after all. But you need to learn your lesson, Mr. Darren. Harry sprinted to the back door of the house and kicked it down. Inside was a woman and a baby. Darren's wife and his son, Nicholas. Darren noticed him running and opened the front door inside. The woman put her hands in the air. Don't you dare pull the fucking trigger. My wife doesn't deserve to die. Okay. And what are you going to do? I will grab my gun and shoot you, Darren replied. Yeah. And he is the best now. His wife screamed. At that moment, Darren charged at Harry, but Harry had faster reflexes. He got out of the way and shot his wife in the neck. She dropped onto the floor. And Darren had to try and stop the bleeding, but it was too late. She had died. Harry had just killed somebody. What did you do? Darren screamed. Harry did feel some remorse for what he did, but it was halted by Walter entering in. You got thick, Mr. Darren, said Walter. Now, I want you to remember this. If you slip up, I'm afraid that your son here will have his life cut dramatically short. Well then, you're just going to have to kill me when I run, just you. Wait. I will do anything for my son. Well then, if you want to help him, I would suggest that you help us out. And killing us is out of the picture. Both of you would be hunted down and killed. So I give you my hand. I would suggest shaking it if I were you. Walter spoke to Darren. Darren stood still, thinking about it, but then Harry pointed his gun at his son, Nicholas Fisher. He had to protect his son, so he reluctantly shook Walter's hand. Good, Mr. Darren, let's get to work. Toby and Nicholas stood outside a burning house. But not just any house. It was Nicholas's home. Outside, they saw a tall man carry a young woman on his shoulder. It was Harry and Alia. They also saw Miles and Sam outside. Both of them were wounded. Holy shit. Toby yelled. What the hell happened? What happened was that you just got poor a little. Nicky. Harry said. The NOS, they burned down the house. We tried to stop them, but there was nothing we could do, said Miles. Harry dropped Alia off his shoulder, who was unconscious. He then stole Sam's gun and shot him in the head. Sam's condition changed from wounded to dead. Harry then pointed at Miles, but Nicholas dived into Harry. This time, Harry wasn't fast enough. Damn, Harry said. Your broke ass learned a little something from your dad. Nicholas proceeded to disarm Harry. He responded by punching him in the face. They both started punching each other. Each time was more tiring for Nicholas than the last. Harry started to crawl towards the gun, but Nicholas stopped him. Toby ran over and kicked the gun into the burning building. Harry and Nicholas both stood up. Toby started kicking Harry, but Harry grabbed his leg and shoved him out of the way. Nicholas started wailing at Harry's face. This is the justice that you get for killing my fucking mom. Nicholas screamed at Harry. Toby looked shocked. That was the secret that Nicholas was hiding. Nicholas stopped wailing at Harry, which gave Harry enough time to shove Nicholas over. Nicholas fell over. Harry then started to punch Nicholas so much that his face was barely even recognizable. Toby stood back up and intervened. But he too experienced the same fate. Harry punched Toby in the gut, then he kicked him in the balls. Toby fell back over again. Harry considered beating him to death, but he didn't. Instead, he picked up Aaliyah on his shoulders. We have a better fate for you, don't you worry, Harry said to Toby. Harry took a nearby car and drove off into the distance. Toby got back up to see a severely wounded Nicholas. We got to get you to a hospital, fast, Toby assured Nicholas. He called 911 and waited for the ambulance. Toby checked the truck to see the blueprints of the facility. Toby also decided to call George Barrington. Hello, said a groggy George Barrington. Listen to me. Me and Nicholas just got our asses kicked by Harry. We found out we're even more into this than I thought. We're in the thick of it.